there, you're watching Hope Room Talks, and this is me, Pratiba Raman. I am here with an interesting couple. But before I introduce them, I have to tell you, I have to start the show with a confession. The first time that I met this person, um, he, I always wondered whether he really has conventional good looks. And I kick myself for having judged him then. And I want to kind of get rid of that guilt that has been riding over me for so long. And as years passed, he has been coming into our house. He is also a close relative of ours. And as and when we started interacting with each other, is when I realized that behind this face, there is a warm heart, one of the warmest hearts that I've witnessed so far and encountered so far. And I thought this person is going to create history. This person is going to inspire me through life. And that has actually happened. The moment I was asked by Hoopsters to do the show, I thought I must first introduce this person to you. His name is Shrikanth. Shrikanth and Rajalakshmi, both of them an inspiring couple who are joining us today to talk about conventional good looks, to talk about conventional self image, to talk about how they found true love, to talk about how they found self love through true love. Thank you so much for joining us, Shrikantji, as well as Rajalakshmi ji.
Hi.
Hi.
I am sorry, I'm unable to see your video. Yes, there you are.
We are able to see this.
Yes, yes. And now I can see you. I'm extremely sorry for the kind of judgments that I have made. And I'm extremely sorry that such kind of judgments are being passed in society today. And this is my way of telling society not to judge people. So I start the show with my question to you, Shrikantji. How have you struggled with this thought of not having a conventional good look?
I have been extremely fortunate that early in my age itself, as being part of the Chinmaya family, and it all a kid, and through the Chinmaya mission and words of Swami Chinmayanandji, very, very early I realized that as the mind, so the man. And it is not about physical looks. And anything that is physical is bound to change, is bound to modify, and eventually perish. But what remains is the mind. What remains are the thoughts, are the intentions. So much early in life, we were very clearly given the picture that it is not about looks. It is more about the mind. It is more about the thoughts, the actions, and the any day, that is something that goes and that cannot be seen, that has to be experienced. And people remember us for our behavior. People never remember us for our looks. And if anybody does, it's so
I guess we have to change the whole phrase of actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than looks as well.
Yeah.
Right. But I also want to talk about, it takes a lot of willpower, a lot of maturity for a person to come to terms with the fact that it is definitely not looks that play a dominant role, but it is more about the way we perceive ourselves with respect to our mind, heart, and soul that really needs to be kind of interpreted by others. But very early in life, I'm sure it must have been absolutely difficult for you to come to terms with it. Can you tell us about that phase of your life?
Yeah, I think, I would say there was only one little phase of my life where I felt probably, the world judges you through looks, and the world doesn't really understand who you are or what you're capable of. In childhood, as students, we don't have such complexities. As children, we don't judge anybody by looks. But as we grow up and become teenagers, and teenagers is all about activity, all about action. And so people respect you for the responsibilities you take up and the side of, the sort of commitment that you give in. All that happens. I think the only phase where I certainly felt that, looks is what people look at. And that was during the period, when they were trying to look for an alliance for me. And that was a period, probably we must have seen some 6 or 7 alliances, and there was no reason given as to why somebody didn't want to choose me, but I had no qualms in choosing anybody.
Hold on to that thought, but I want to go to Rajalakshmi ji. Then was it even more difficult, to kind of tell people that good looks, conventional good looks, do not matter?
Actually, Pratibha, my profession has always been that of a teacher. And I had taken up to this profession from a very young age of 21 years. And I have always been amidst children. So whenever I would interact with children, obviously in a class of 40, previously when I used to teach in Mumbai, we had a classroom with 50 students. So in a class of 50, definitely there will be some above average lookers, some average lookers, and some below average lookers. So that was, I would say, my very good training ground, because frankly speaking, in my maternal side, in my home, everybody is good looking. But when I came to the classroom, I actually got transformed to, there was some, I don't know, I cannot express it to you, maybe a motherly feeling in me, wherein I wanted to treat all of them at the same, because as Shrikanth told, now as children, they don't have these complexes, but I disagree with him, because I have seen the ground reality in the classroom, wherein the not so average, the below average looking child is always sometimes bullied, sometimes, some rude remark is always passed about that child. So I have, from that time, I always strongly believe that it is, this is what I told my students. I said, you have to connect to the heart. You cannot isolate somebody just because he doesn't look good, because that is something which has not been chosen by him. It has been given to that person by the Lord. We you that when I became a teacher, I had very strongly made up my mind. I will only practice what I preach around. And I actually stuck to it for a lifetime. It's not that it was easy for me to make a choice, because definitely, as I said, I come from a background where there are many good looking people in my family, and many of them also told me so many things. I can discuss it later with you, but obviously I was very clear in my mindset. I said, if I have preached something and if I think somebody is for me, then it is the right choice. I don't need to take everybody's, I cannot please everybody in this world at the same time. No? That is not possible.
I mean, seldom do we find teachers who kind of think that we need to practice what we preach, or vice versa. But with respect to your case, I'm so glad that you have actually stood your ground. But did the entire training ground that you were talking about with respect to schools and interacting with such children kind of tell you to, when Shrikanth ji's alliance came to you, kind of tell you that, okay, let us put that into action here?
You want to tell me what transpired between us on that day?
That's right. Yes. When the alliance came to you, did that whole training in school kind of help you in making your choice? And finally, it happened to be the right choice.
Actually, Pratibha, I don't know, I should be saying this. I am myself a visually challenged person. So when I got married, my vision was, say, around 50% of that of a normal person, but which could not be rectified with spectacles or your other kind of lenses. But definitely I could make out what Shrikanth looked like. And that was none of my concern. Frankly speaking, when the alliance came and the photographs were exchanged, and my brother went to meet him, my brother came and told me, and even before Shrikanth came to meet me, I knew very well what he looked like. But at that time, my only lookout was I was very keen that I should be marrying somebody who is well educated and well qualified. Because maybe I relate, I may not be right in that now, considering what is happening in the society now. But that time, at least, we could equate a good qualification, say some good brains to interact with, because I was intellectually very, very strong student. I was extremely good in my academics. I was, I was one of the toppers in my school. I was a topper in my college. So I was extremely good in academics. So I strongly believe that my life partner should be a brainy person. And because Shrikant had triple qualifications, so I said, yes, maybe I should speak to him. And obviously, I had some questions for him. I had some sentences, some statements for him. So there was a small test, which Shrikant, maybe I told him later, it was a test which I had placed. Yeah. So I told my parents that if I think he gives me the correct answers, then I will say yes to the alliance.
Can we know what the secret test?
So I told him I mentioned a few incidents in my life to him. So I said, like, how when I went out for to look out for a job as a lecturer. So how I told my first employer, I should mention his name. He's no more. He was called SM Lal in Mumbai. And I mentioned to him that that time, I did have this visual challenge. It was not so acute as it is now. I was just, say, 22 at that time. So now it is much more. So I told him, and people could not make out at that time that I had a visual challenge. So I told him that this is what I have. Any other candidate, please do not, me, or do not say that I don't want you because I have this challenge. I wanted to be frank to you. But sir, you must give me a chance. You must give me a chance to give a demo. And then you make up your mind. If I'm not good, you can, always say that I don't want to take you up. So I deliberately mentioned this incident to Shrikanth because, it was a marital alliance which we were looking out. So there again, Pratibha, I wanted to be very, very frank to whoever was marrying me, because I was very well aware of this fact that something like this could turn up in the future. So then I wanted to see what was Shrikanth's reaction. So I told this whole thing, and I said how I told the employer that he should give me a chance. And then I asked him some questions about his job. And I think after that, I don't know what else. I don't. These are two things which I particularly remember having asked him. I told him, and I wanted to see his reaction. I wanted to see what he feels and how he's reacting. And one more thing I told him. I said, see, whatever is your decision, even if you want to marry me or you don't want to marry me, I told him, do not delay beyond today. We don't want to hear a no tomorrow or a yes tomorrow. Please see that if it is yes or no, it is fine with me, but you have to please take care of. I told him, I said, it's more than me. My parents, always they used to keep waiting. Oh my God, what is that groom going to say? Are they going to say yes? Are they going to say no? So I told him, I don't think it takes more than 2-3 hours, couple of hours to think. So whatever it is, even if it is no, you can be frank, but don't keep my parents waiting. This is exactly what I told him. And he told me, yes, don't worry, I will communicate through the right channels. So I was wondering what was the channel first.
Right.
But then I think within half an hour, he called up to say that he was okay with the alliance. But that time I got a doubt, I asked my father, did they understand clearly? Why did he say yes? So my father said, somebody says yes, also you have a problem, and someone says no, also you have a problem. So where is the problem? It is with you, he said. Then I thought, okay, maybe he's right. Somebody is saying yes, someone has understood. And if he has a triple qualification, that means he has definitely understood what I've told him. Right. So then I thought, let me go ahead with this.
Shrikanth, I mean, the question now is, why did you say yes?
Why should I have said no? One example, one anecdote that I still remember is such a beautiful, the fact that content is any day much more precious than the wrapping or the packaging.
True.
Right? The body is just the package. The
Right.
content is what is inside us, and we need to take more care of it. And Gurudev, in his inimicable style, gave a story of how there was a lot of tests going on for his health conditions, and so somebody was asked to carry urine sample of his from Mumbai to Pune because there seemed to be better lab aspects, and then it was so nicely wrapped. So the person carrying it did not know what it contained, right? But then was given it nicely packed and written to Dr. Miss Shalini, Pune. And so this person thought, oh, I'm going to carry some parcel on behalf of a great master. So was holding it so reverently. And then as the time passed, the train kept moving. This person was wondering what perhaps this Swami could give to one Dr. Miss Shalini. Does he have something? Let me try and see what it is. So slowly that person opens the package and then he sees, wow, it looks like a, perfume bottle because the color is perfect. And so he sees it against the sunlight and it just stands out like a perfume bottle. And so he's wondering, so is this Swami sending, foreign perfumes to some lady in Pune, one Dr. Miss Shalini? And then he wants to see, okay, if this is a foreign perfume, I have never, smelt one. So why don't I open a little and smell it? And then the question comes, after smelling, do you think he's going to carry the bottle? So along with the bottle, the contents of the bottle, the package, everything went out of the train. Right? So it is so important to understand, that story stayed with me. It's the mind. Unfortunately, the deformity of the mind cannot be seen. And more problems are because of deformity of the mind, never because of the body. And body anyway has to modify itself and perish.
So you might have to adjust your camera a little because of the headspace. Can you reduce the headspace? Yeah.
This is better.
Sorry, lift it a little more. Yeah, I think that's better.
Yeah.
Right. So,
So when I went to meet with her, obviously, I was looking for an interaction. And here was somebody who was so openly wanting to interact, telling me about her employment. And somewhere I could relate it to myself, saying that, why don't you give me a chance? It's not to the employer, but as to me.
That's an interesting point. So then you wanted to go to her to kind of tell her that, why don't you give me a chance? Did you expect her to say yes? What was running in your mind?
No, I'm saying, because she narrated me the story of her employer and that she had asked him, I felt as though that question was posed to me.
She's asking before
no,
you came
before you came in to meet Rajalakshmi ji.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you would have also had this self-doubt whether she's going to say yes or no. And the moment you convey it through the right channel, like Rajalakshmi ji mentioned, did you expect Rajalakshmi ji to also kind of, have the same kind of, mutual respect for you and love for you to say yes? Or were you also kind of nervous and tensed whether it's going to work?
See, I would say it this way, because I had only faced rejections till that point in time, right? So nobody had said a yes. And here was somebody who had asked me to give my decision. And so obviously I was also waiting for the decision to come from the other side. So I was not sure whether, it needs to be a yes because it's a yes from my end.
After a series of rejections, when you kind of prepped yourself to go and be with Rajalakshmi ji or to meet Rajalakshmi ji on that day, were you very nervous and were you extremely dejected, thinking that, I'm sure you would have had a lot of self-doubts to gather the courage and go and meet Rajalakshmi ji. Did you have that?
No, I did not. And the reason is very simple. Many a times, it's not that if we are, I believe a lot in destiny. So if you're destined to marry, you will marry. And it's not that, somebody is going to be born for you today. Somebody is already born for you somewhere. It's just a matter of meeting. So if it had to happen, it would have happened. So there was no question of, self-doubting. So I could only feel sad for the people who did not choose me. They lost someone.
I am also being pretty brutal in my questioning to you, so please don't mind me, so that I want to tell people, this can happen to you too, so please don't lose heart. So when you decided to marry each other, I mean, was it kind of like, I have a deformity of some sort, and I need to say yes to a person who is also facing the same crisis? Was it some kind of an atonement? Like, if I do this to you, you will do this to me?
No, nothing of that stuff. Nothing of that stuff.
What about you, Rajalakshmi ji?
Actually, before I said yes to Shrikanth, we had advertised in the matrimonial columns, and I was very clear that I would be marrying somebody who is very, properly professionally qualified. And I had also, requested my parents to include a small line, but that obviously the matrimony column was not what Shrikanth had looked and come. They came through another source. But I had told my parents to mention in the matrimonial column that any other sort of physical challenge would be acceptable to me. And I did this not for a reason to compromise. The reason why I thought about this at that time, obviously, I'm talking about, say, 23 years ago or 24 years ago. When I thought about it, Pratibha, I felt it will only be another person who's partially in my shoes, who will be able to understand what could be the possible, challenges which I would face in life in future. I was not sure if any person any person who's absolutely normal physically, if he or she, or rather if he would be able to understand there could be some mental downs, there could be some upsets, whether they would be able to understand or no, I was not sure. So I had told my parents to mention this in some of the matrimonial columns, and we had got many inquiries also with all this. So that was one thing I had mentioned, but obviously Shrikanth came through another source. I asked him also later. So he said, I am not aware of all this.
You were talking about rejections. I mean, did that ever affect you, and how did that affect you?
See, the rejection can be bounced back, so it was all temporary. And yes, maybe, as they say, raat gayi, baat gayi. So I think that has to be used in these contexts when, okay, a new day is a fresh day, restart, take your guard. And end of the day, that I can understand if there is an issue on which some work needs to be done, and then you feel bad about it. I have let down, I have not done something right. I can understand. Now, this is purely somebody else's choice and judgment, and everybody is free to have their expression of their choice and judgment. So there was nothing to feel, yes, temporarily you felt sad that, is this the level?
How did you deal with it when you felt sad?
Probably was silent for a few minutes or hours. But then I tell you, one of my always bounce back thing has been a lot of Bollywood songs. So I listen to huge number of Bollywood songs, and they are a big motivator. They make you come back again and again.
I mean, how did you build your willpower? I mean, this question applies to both of you. You can take turns to answer this.
You want to answer?
No, willpower as in?
Willpower as in, for me to bounce back, you also need some amount of willpower.
Okay.
What is it? What is that secret mantra?
Okay, so my willpower and my milestones were always when somebody tried to put me down. So I would never allow myself to cry or to feel bad. So if somebody would say you can't do it, the first thing I would think about is how can I do it? and I will do it, and I will, this has always been in me. There have been in my own family. I don't want to mention the name of the person, but I have been told, that you will never get a job. So I said, okay, I will prove to you that I'll get a job. Then I was told, you'll just get an ordinary job. So I said, no, I will become a lecturer and show you what I can do. Then I was told at times that, once they come cheaper at a lower salary than you, then you'll be sacked. Then I also check out my, what do you call those? What do you offer letters in my hand, and I will try to. It's all a self-satisfaction. And there have been people who have told me that, you can't. People who told me, no, you can't bring up a child. So I said, no, I will bring up a child. I have a daughter who's 16-year-old now. So there have been people who told me, oh my God, how can you bathe your daughter? So from day one, I have given her bath. Can you imagine? I didn't even keep an ayah. Normally when children are young, babies are young, all mothers keep some maid, who would give the child a bath. So I went to the extent to prove, no, I can do it. I will only do it.
So, and you have done it.
Yeah. So whatever. Those are always my, you could say, encouragements. Anybody tries to put me down, I would say, no, I'm going to do it and show it you. That's all.
Shrikanth, did you also look at it that way? I mean, what were the kind of comments that you have faced all through your life?
See, I am one person who never tries to prove anything to the other person. That way we are totally opposites.
Right.
I don't believe in proving a point to anybody. I always introspect a lot, and I always, I'm never short of confidence. I'm never short of, what should I say, courage, conviction. I always believe that, let's try, let's give it a full time. होता है ठीक है, नहीं होता है तो भी ठीक है, क्या है? End of the day, it is not life and death.
Right. I mean, looks like the Bollywood songs have definitely influenced your confidence levels. Can I know which is your favorite Bollywood song?
I mean, especially to bounce back.
Especially to bounce back.
रुक जाना नहीं तू कहीं हार के.
Wow. I must tell all the viewers here that Rajalakshmi ji is a very famous, one of the upcoming singers here in Bangalore, and she also has an academy, a music academy of hers. Madam, can you just hum a line or two of it?
Okay, I will sing a song which it is from my heart. It goes to Shrikanth. From I can say from day one till date. Okay, so it's a song which is very close to my heart, and I started liking it more after I married Shrikanth. Okay. So it goes like this. तेरे मेरे मिलन की रना हो, तेरे मेरे मिलन की रना, नया कोई गुल खिलाएगी, नया कोई गुल खिलाएगी, तभी तो चंचल है तेरे नैना, देखो ना तेरे मेरे मिलन की रना. The song goes.
Wow, that was truly beautiful. It also brought back memories from my past. Shrikanth, can you also talk about some of the incidents in your childhood that really affected you, to both of you? The reason why I'm asking you this is I want to also talk about how parents play an influential role in creating perceptions.
Yeah, I think one of the best things that my parents did, and for this I really owe to them, is they gave me a guru. They took me to Balvihar, and then they handed me over there, saying that, yeah, this is the right thing for you. And they have always been a role model. My dad has always been a source of encouragement. And you can even, he made me, he sent me alone from Howrah, Calcutta, that's where we stayed, to Mumbai. class 7 student uh, on the board without anybody escorting. And so that's how I could go to visit my uncle who was in Mumbai for a summer vacation. So my dad was somebody who always encouraged. Constant source of encouragement has been there. And my mom has always been someone whom I have seen, tirelessly be there to do whatever is right, and they have been a role model, honestly.
Have you ever gone running to them saying that, okay, this person said this to me, or this is affecting me, things like that?
No, I don't remember any incident where I went and said, somebody said this to me, etc., etc. And that's where, Pratibha, probably I'm over repeating myself, but the learnings or the teachings that I could get because of the mission, because of the scriptures and the teachings in the Gita and all that, have really made the self-doubt goes away, because there's nothing for you to doubt, because you are there, and you can do whatever you want with right thinking.
What about you, Rajalakshmi ji? Any incidents from your childhood that has affected you, and how your parents played a pivotal role?
My parents obviously were supportive, but I will say the main confidence I gained from Pratibha, when you said in the beginning, teachers seldom do it. I have got all the inspiration from my teachers. I studied in a convent school back in Mumbai. It's called Mary Immaculate Girls High School. It's still there. And till I was in grade 10, none of my teachers or the nuns in my school, they never made me feel, that I have, obviously my visual challenge was not a small issue. It was something very new that time, maybe I was the only one in the school with this challenge. But they never made me feel special or different. And even at that age, how cunning we can be. Now. So there were some times when some art things, I didn't want to do. I would always say, oh, ma'am, my eyes are paining. So my mom would say, I had one Miss Jacinta. She was my class teacher. So she would say, okay, come back tomorrow, wash your eyes, and then do it again. So it was like, I was never exempted from anything. They also ensured that I went for an overnight tour with them. So till I left school, I never realized that people can look at you differently. And obviously in college also, I studied in one of the premium commerce colleges in Mumbai. It was Narsimhanji College in Villa Parle. That's where I wanted to go because I was very good in my extracurriculars. So in college also, I will say there was no such discrimination. Everybody was with me, and nobody looked down upon me. Nobody looked at me differently. But I will say after that, when I told you, I wanted to get married. It was by choice. There were so many people, even my parents also initially thought, is it fine for you to get married? Should you get married? So I said, no, I will try. If I don't get married, then it's okay. But I want to try. I don't want to keep anything untried in this world. Everything I want to try. Okay, so I said, I will try till I reach a particular age. And then I will say, okay, it's not for me. Then I said, I will not stop at that. I always wanted to become a mother. So I said, if I don't get married, also I will adopt a child. So be careful and don't think that, that's the end of the journey. It can go on to some more milestones. So I will say my teachers have really, they have shown me what an ideal teacher. You told me, seldom teachers are like that. I have learned this spirit from my teachers in my school. They have never treated me differently. At the same time, now I realize, when I became a teacher, I realized how empathetic they were to me. It was all because at that age, you don't realize you're one among the many, and how they have taken care of, they have held my hand without me becoming aware of it. And definitely I had many challenges. It was not easy. Even when I used to go to college and all, I never wanted anybody to escort me. And also there were many times when I had got into the wrong buses, then I would never come back home also and tell. So I would get down I would realize after some time. So I would get down and walk down from there. Then in Mumbai, obviously now, I don't know, I should not be saying this on air. but there were many potholes in those days. And there were so many, minimum I remember.
Bangalore has no dearth of it.
No, now,
sorry to interrupt.
No, now
Pratibha, Pratibha, now I know why Bangalore has got the potholes.
Because I have
That's
said
right.
here.
Shrikanth ji, can you just move a little to your right? Yeah, that's fine. Yes, please come.
And I have actually fallen in potholes, and they're not mere small potholes. They were big ditches where I've fallen in, and I've taken the help of, Mumbai is that way. I will say, the passers-by will help you. And I've just, brushed myself and dusted myself and carried on as though nothing happened. And I would never come home and report all this to my parents, because they were, first of all, it was so difficult for them. They will then say, I will come tomorrow onwards with you. I will hold your hand, which I never wanted in my life. I never wanted to be looked down with sympathy by someone. So as a matter of joke, I will tell you, when we were courting, like after the marriage was fixed, I happened to court Shrikanth for quite some time. And so Shrikanth one day, initially he offered to hold my hand. So I thought he was offering out of sympathy. I said, come on, no, you're not holding my hand. And then after, I think it took him 2-3 days.
You just killed the romance there.
No, he told me, Buddhu, everything is not out of sympathy. It can be out of romance.
So my important question to you is, what is your definition of good looks? Who wants to go first?
I think good looks, Pratibha, is the look which sparks from your heart. So I told you, when I met Shrikanth, I could definitely see what he looked like. There was also this doubt after our marriage was fixed. Many of our relatives, as I said, I don't want to mention who they were. They were asking, whether really we have seen him properly and all. So I used to just laugh and smile to myself, because at the end of the day, it is the positive vibes which came from. I don't know what really attracted me to him. I really liked him when he spoke very frankly, and he was speaking very politely. And I've never seen men talk very politely at that. Nowadays, I know. I think
I completely agree with you on that.
So I thought, here is a man. Now, some of my friends, colleagues now, or friends now will say, I often cut a joke. I say it is Meenakshi Rajam in our home. Meenakshi Rajam means it is the lady is the boss in the house. So
in all houses, I believe.
So, but that is on the lighter side. But just 2 days ago, I can be frank to you, we were discussing about some other issue, related to our work. So I told Shrikanth, you're the only person, who also practices what he preaches. See, there are many people who will talk about, women, liberty for women. They will say, okay, you also can pursue a job, you can think independently. But when it comes to practical things at home, you always, I have seen many of them, my own families I have seen, they then turn into the traditional chauvinist husband. For all other things, you're okay, when the wife has to go and earn money and do things, or for all that, it is fine. But when it comes to some major decision, sometimes they will say, no, we have to take the decision. But with Shrikanth, I have seen from day one, I've got equal rights in everything. So this is one more thing which I liked him, because I do that. I told you, I will only preach if I think I can practice it. Otherwise, I will not preach. I tell my students also. Now also, if I tell them, I'm doing pranayam, I tell them, because I'm doing pranayam, I can do the akarams well. So you also. So it's very clear. Don't preach what you can't practice. And that I found Shrikanth doing. So I should say, that is definitely one, what do you call that point, Shri? Some points you'll call a brownie point to him.
But my next question is, Shrikanth ji, what is your definition of a disability?
A disability is not something that is physical at all. A disability is something in their mind, in the thought. People have everything. We have seen, especially when you see Paralympics, look at, how they are able to do. There are many people who have everything, but they do nothing, because the mind is agitated, the mind is not controlled, or the mind is not able to respond. I see disability more from when somebody does not reach the potential that is in them. and everybody has equal potential as given by God.
Truly, very well worded. Um, would you say that both of you discovered self-love with your love for each other?
Self-love with love for each other. Can you
Can you expand on
drill
it? Even I
down
didn't
a
understand
little
the
bit more?
term self.
Did you ever feel like I do not really love myself for the kind of um, defined conventional good looks, or for the kind of defined conventional deformities? Uh, did you ever feel that I'm running low on self-love, and but the moment you met each other and the moment you met the right partner, you kind of built your confidence? So
No,
that love transformed into self-love. Did that ever happen to both?
No, Pratibha, it never works like that. A beggar cannot donate. Right?
Right.
So unless you have it with you, unless you love yourself first, you cannot give love to others. So self-love is the first. You need to love for what you are, and you need to feel grateful for what the Lord has given you. Then only you can shower it. My Gurudev used to say, hosepipe the whole world with love. But you can only do that provided there is, balance in your account. You have zero balance. What are you going to help anybody else?
True. Very true. I mean, the attitude towards all of this is very, very inspiring, I must say, because I never really thought that I would be asking such questions and I would find somebody who would be answering this with so much of honesty. And thank you so much for doing that. Before I actually pass on the questions to the audiences here, I have one question for you. What has been the biggest learning from your life?
You go first.
You go.
Learning from my life, Pratibha.
Yes.
I need to think.
Okay. Will Shrikanth answer before that?
I don't think learning ends in life. It's a continuous process. You meet new people, you meet new situations, you encounter new challenges. So learning is something, as rightly someone has said, starts in the womb and goes till the tomb. Learning is going on and on and on. It doesn't stop.
True. What about you?
Okay, so my learning in life, I can just put it in a small quote, which Swami Tejamananji had written once, and that really had a very big impression on me. I keep telling my students also, till then I could not put my thoughts into words. But when I read that quote of Swamiji, I thought, okay, this is what maybe I'm also trying to do. See, what you have with you is a gift of, is a gift what God has given to you. You have no control. As I said, you have no say over it. We had no choice whether we want to become fat, thin, we have to become fair, whether our eyes have to look, small or big. We have no choice. It's a gift given to us by God. But what you do with this gift, okay, is a gift to mankind, to everybody. The mankind can be your family, it can be an extended family, it can be to the society. So this is something I keep telling my students. Obviously, never, as Shrikanth said, even people who are physically normal can be, can have low days. So some children, when they tell me, ma'am, we are not able to cope up and all. So I say, tell this, what you have got. Or there are other, nowadays children face other problems also. It's not only related to looks, it can be related to so many other things also. So I say, what you have got is a gift by God. There's no say in it. But what best you can do with that is in your hands. You need not be laid off and, put back because of others. And there's one more, if you allow me, I want to tell you one more.
Please do.
So there is this story which really, really, created its impression on me, wherein there were a group of frogs in a well, and all of them wanted to, jump outside the well. They kept trying. And while they were doing, there were a group of monkeys around the sill of the well who kept discouraging them. They said, hey, you can't do it, you froggies, and all those things. And around 10 did not come out, only one came out. And finally, somebody left. So this I tell my students also. If there is somebody, now I think the term nowadays people use is body shaving. If somebody tries to body shave you, please turn a deaf ear to it. They don't deserve your attention. So keep looking at what you want to do. Whether anybody says you can do it or you can't do it, they are not the Almighty who has written your destiny. Your destiny can always be written by you. So don't believe, don't trust in anybody who wants to put you. See, you try. I told you, I told my parents, I want to try to get married. I don't want to give up the trial. I don't want to think, okay, oh, who will marry me? No, that was never in my mind. Or the next thing was, as I said, am I capable of being a mother? I didn't want others to decide for me. So I said, let me try it. If it goes wrong, it's fine. That's your own hit and miss. Nah? That is fine. So this is something I wanted to tell on air, that obviously what you do with what you have is a gift to the society, or gift to the Almighty, or gift to yourself. If you don't believe in the Almighty, or you don't want to contribute to society, there's a gift to yourself, what can make you feel better with what you have.
You just kind of nailed it perfectly. Now, there's so much of hype about body shaming and fairness and skin color and things like that that we see in media. So did that ever affect you, and in what way, and what is, how do you perceive this?
You're asking me or him?
Both of them, anyone who wants to answer.
So definitely it was not that I had not experienced such things. Okay, there were many people who had told so many nasty things to me. It's not that I have been an exception and everybody has been goody to me. It's not like that. So many nasty things. Like I was told when my daughter was very, very young, a young baby, I was told, that you're feeding her nose. I'm not feeding her mouth. And from quite a young age, my daughter, she would, when I would go to feed her, she would take my hand and put it in her mouth. So many nasty things have been told. There was when my marriage was fixed with Shrikanth, one of my she was not a lecturer in the college where I used to work. She was a staff member. She happened to tell me that how will you identify who your husband is? So such remarks, just for an example, I'm saying, if you're not able to see how the society can be very, very nasty. It can be very cruel if they want to be cruel to you. And I want to also say this on it. I told you I was a very good academically, an extremely good student. So obviously what was written on the blackboard, I could not see. I expect my neighbor to, whoever would sit next to me, to read it aloud as they are writing, so that I could also write it in my notes. I learned to have a very thick skin from a very young age. I said, no, let anybody say anything. If my goal is that, come hail, come storm, I'm going to, if A will not help, B will help. If B will not help, C will help. So from A to Z, there will be somebody who will help. So I have to knock at the right door. So that was all I had kept in my mind.
Are you always this mature to think of it this way?
No. So when I was in my early teens, now obviously that was as to why it was only. Very candid, very, you could say, you could done something very, actually told me this. And then I thought, oh, could be. Right. Then I said, okay, now I've got an answer. It's fine. So, okay, I'm willing to, still then as a,
you're willing to believe what you get.
So I said, okay, I wanted an answer now. See, obviously, when you want to know why you are like this and why others are different. So I got an answer. Then now I keep laughing over it. But then I'm telling you, that stopped me then from, different I am. And then I started only looking at my goal. I said, no, these are some of the things in my list which I want to do and I want to achieve in my life. And I kept pursuing it. Come hail, come storm. I would not give up. I said, no, I have to achieve it. And that is what it is all about.
We've talked so much on the personal front, but professionally, Shrikanth, I mean, have you faced any kind of challenges in your professional career?
I don't think I have faced any major challenges per se, because it was all.
I'm telling you where it comes from because my being a journalist, every time they do a screen test in many platforms or many organizations, and they decide based on your looks whether you can be an anchor or not. Sometimes it really affects certain people if they are not, meeting the standards of conventional good looks. So that's where this comes from.
No, I understand, but luckily or fortunately, I should say that, wherever I have worked, I have not seen such discrimination. So I have made client presentations abroad, I have made client presentations around the globe, I have traveled extensively, and I don't think that has, come in the way at all, because what people really appreciated is my ability to communicate, my ability to go deep into the subject and then explain it to them. So certainly, that was a plus point that I always had. My academics were always there, certifications were there, plus my communication ability was something I felt that probably, took care of the rest of the things. The only area much earlier, this was because I wanted to pursue medicine and I wanted to become a doctor and serve the people in the villages and things like that. But then the only thing that came in the way was my eyesight, because I do not also have any vision in one of my eyes. And so that is where they told me that if you have to get into medical profession, then you will have to probably clear medical screening, medical test, which will not. So my 11th and 12th, I did science, and then I switched over to commerce, after that sort of an input that was given to me. But thereafter, I don't think I faced such things in my.
Did that kind of deter you, the fact that you didn't get what you liked?
No, it did not. And I'll tell you, that was a period, we had been to AIMS, Delhi, for getting to know this piece of wonderful information. We went with the hope saying that probably there is a cure. But then what came back was, probably you need to change your profession, you need to change your direction. And I was so fortunate. That was a period when our Gurudev was holding the Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 in Kalamandir, and that topic was Kshetra Kshetragya. That means the field and the player in the field. So he says, and to put a gist on that, it is not the field that decides whether you win. You are a winner no matter whichever field you are put in.
Another question to you is, how can we break the stigma in the society? What is your advice to the society?
I think a lot needs to be taught about the mind, the intellect. There is hardly anything being done there. You have an entire industry behind cosmetics, behind something that is going to modify and perish. But there is nothing, even when you hear about the gruesome behavior, even animals do not behave the way that some human beings do, is only because of mental deformity. Where anything is being taught to children about mind, about intellect, about soul, nothing is being taught anywhere. The only thing we have learned is, data mongering, data gathering, and how can you earn to not just fill your belly, but probably the belly of all the generations to come. So sad.
Right. True that. What about you, Rajalakshmi ji?
I think teachers can play. See, because parents, we cannot tell now. It depends on how they have been brought out. They could also have been, verbally abused or whatever. They could have also been body shamed. We don't know. But as teachers, when I used to work as a music teacher. Initially, I was a lecturer in commerce. After that, I took up my passion as my profession. I used to work as a music teacher in many schools. So, the students, I would devote of my time, like recently also your parents and opinions. See, it may sound very silly, but nowadays you look at every mother or every father, they wish their child had obeyed them when it's too late. It isn't it? So they are not able to put across the idea to the child that how important. So all this, we have so many mythological stories, so many historical stories. One of my favorite historical story which I narrate is about Prithvi Raj Chauhan. So that is where he was blinded in both the eye. Still, he had the courage to pull down that to kill that this one Mongolian tribal king. What was his name? Shri, I forget. So right. Basically what I'm trying to say is I tell them in the form of stories how Shrikanth said, you may be in any situation you are, but history shows you that people could have done it. So it could be you. You never know. Why should you think you are not capable of that? Isn't it? So I think as teachers, if there are teachers in our audience, we can do a very great job. We may think, okay, maths mein itna padhana hai, science mein itna padhana hai. But as Shrikanth says, there is no one, or I will not say no one, there are very few people to give this tonic to our younger generation. They don't know that they need it, but at least we know that they need it. Na? Some of us would have never got it in our life, but if our children can get, if the younger generation can get it, then why not? So even in my academic classes at home, I make it a point once a week. I always read it, but I don't take up the time because see, there are some parents who are very calculative. They think, oh my God, in 1 hour, what is that 5 minutes going on? Yeah. So I ensure that there is an extra 5 minutes which I take and I narrate the story because that is important for the child. Baki sab ho jayega. Learning will automatically happen. But what about the skills to lead life? There can be a junction in future for the life and for the child where he may wonder, I should not think this, but many children, we are well aware of it now. Suicide cases, they don't know how to handle it. True. Isn't it? They need to understand. Any of us who have undergone all these situations, we could have thought about it, isn't it? But it is definitely for me, it is my teachers who have never made me feel different. So I always feel we should drive this across. So someday, at least out of the 10 who are listening to the story, somebody has told me something like this in the past. Let me, give myself another chance and we just can do this.
I just want to add one sentence if you don't mind. You said, how can we make a difference? I think we have invested enough in raising standard of living. Let's invest to raise the standard of life.
True. We at Hoopsters are also trying to, in some small way, do the same. Right. So I'll move on to the audiences now. I'll just look at the questions that they've put up. And if there are more, people can really, put up your comments on the comment section. So there's Girija who has extensively messaged here. She's been talking about how Indians living abroad all the time face it, especially children. And you may be the best looking person in India, but the brown skin culture and the texture of our hair seem to irk some people off. But we can more than compensate this with our competence and positive attitude. What's your take on this?
I will narrate a wonderful, anecdote that happened with me. I landed up in, I think it was Dallas Airport in the US. And at that time, no, not Dallas, Detroit. Yeah, it was in Detroit that I landed. And at that time, it so happened that there were 4 other flights from India, all landed up at the same time, one Mumbai, Chennai and Delhi and all that. So the immigration hall was full of Indians. The immigration hall was full of Indians. And then I was in the queue. So I went and gave my passport. So the immigration officer, tried to act a little funny. So he just stood up and then he looked at all the people there and he asked, is there anybody left back in India? This was his question. And my response to him was, since you guys are not capable of handling your issues, we are here to help you.
That is a good
And
comeback.
that person did not want to do anything. He simply stamped and I went in.
Right. I mean, it's interesting. Have you ever faced any kind of funny incidents in your life and you know, look back at it and you just laugh it off?
Funny.
Okay, so I would like to narrate one incident which happened to me back in this Brussels. I was traveling back alone because I had to take one examination back in India, music exam. And I had already informed the airport authorities that I needed help. And I was wondering, like the flight got delayed and the attendant, she was across me, but I could not make out. Obviously, I had my phone, which could tell me the time and all those things. So I was wondering why they have not come to, assist me into the flight. So I was wondering whether I should get up or no and all. Then I just stood up. But in the meantime, obviously, this is one thing I want to tell the audience. And I think many of them would know. People who are visually challenged, we have a sixth sense, which is extremely strong. So I could make out at that time that a gentleman was sitting, 3-4 seats away from me, but he was continuously looking at me. Now, don't ask me how I knew he was looking at me. I had this funny feeling that he's constantly staring at me. And when I got up, he suddenly rushed to me and said, I will help you, ma'am. I got so wild at him. I said, did I ask you for help? And he said, see, you need help. I'm offering. And I really lost my temper. I said, what tells you that we need help? Are you working for the airport authority or are you doing some social work here in the airport? It may have sounded rude, Pratibha, but the way he told me, I did not like it. And I strongly believe, see, it should be whenever we have an argument or a debate or anything for that matter, even if it's a fight, it should be a fight among equals. He knows very well that I'm taking some assistance. So I think people should respect people who have some challenges. At least you should spare them of this embarrassment of, doing things what you would do to a normal person. You should very well be sure that we also can make out what's happening around us. It's not that we don't know what happens.
Right.
So then obviously the story goes on. The airport authority came and then she said, well, it's none of your business and, to come and meddle around with this lady. And obviously it is understood. You cannot come and offer assistance if we don't want. If we want,
I'm glad you put him in his place.
Definitely. Not only this, Pratibha, it's not that we have not had this. I have had even in my workplace, so obviously, see, I also know I'm good looking. So I have in my workplace also one of my male teachers who I knew was always staring at me. Other teachers used to tell me that, why is he looking at you? I was married and I had a child and all also. So one day I got an opportunity. I was about to sign the register. We have to sign. And he came and held my hand. He said, ma'am, I will help you. I said, now today I've got you. I said, don't you dare to come near me or look at me the next time. I'll just come. I will directly take you to the principal. Don't think I don't know what nasty things you're up to. And he got the fright of his life. I can be very, very stern and I can really frighten people out of the.
Shrikanth is smiling, almost agreeing with that.
So what I'm trying to say is it's not that we are spared, but I think society needs to think a little about that also. Now, see, you can have all this with people who are at an equal status. Otherwise, you come and tell me you're staring at me and I will tell you what I have to tell you.
I mean, that's, I completely understand because as a journalist, I've covered several incidents of, people trying to take advantage of those who come with certain challenges. Yes, true that. There is one question here, Girija again, who's asking, if there is one thing you could change about your life, what is that?
You want to go or shall I go?
You go.
There is one song that we listen every day when we get up. This is the first song that we put every day in our house. It is Kurayondrum Illai. There's nothing to change in life. He has given everything, and we are very, very kind to God. He's given everything. There's nothing to change. So he takes care.
For those viewers who haven't really understood the song talks about how we have absolutely nothing, we have absolutely no regrets. That's what the song talks about. So
It has
I'm
been, that song has been written by he was the second, no, he was the first Governor General of our country, Indian Governor General of our country, C. Rajagopalachari. He has written that song, Kurayondrumille.
right. So, I mean, there's absolutely, I think one of them has better explained it. We have absolutely nothing lacking in our life. I
Absolutely.
guess that's what it really means.
Yes.
Also, I wanted to touch upon one subject while talking about the challenges in the professional career. I mean, how was it for you, Rajalakshmi ji? Because you are now an entrepreneur, and I'm sure it was by no means an easy task.
Yes. So for me to start my own academy, I should thank COVID. Many people have cursed the coronavirus, but I found I actually, when the corona struck us, that time offline classes had got stopped. Parents were worried whether they can send and all. So that was the time I thought, okay, why don't I start something online? And thought about this idea of starting my own academy, because when it was offline, we could have extended numbers in the batch. But when it is online, I could not handle, say, more than 4 or 5 in a batch if it has to be online. So then I thought, why don't I take some of my senior students and train them to be teachers, and let me think about this idea. And most of my senior teachers were homemakers. So I thought, okay, why don't I train them, and why don't I, imbibe them as my assistant teachers? I'll allow them to take the practice sessions, and I will take the main sessions. And that was how I started with my academy. But going on my own, this was something I always wanted to do. Maybe I was a little hesitant, but the credit of giving me all the encouragement goes to my father-in-law. He was the one who would always tell me, he said, I think it is time you should stop working for people. You should be on your own. And I would like to mention this to to all the viewers and to you, Pratibha, that my parents-in-law also have been equally supportive since day one of my marriage. And it's not that we have not had fights and all. We have had severe fights and severe arguments and all. It was always a fight of equals. That is what I appreciate. If my father-in-law, I would argue, it was never on the basis of what I could do or not do with my vision. It was always of what I thought and what he thought. And what with my mother-in-law also, it was always the same, a fight of equals, which I actually enjoyed. I always used to say, that even if it is whatever it is, it has to be something on an equal level. You have to make the other person also, if he's short, you have to give him a stool and make him stand of your height, and then maybe have a wrestling with him. It is like that. So that is one thing. So it is his encouragement. He always told me I should go on my own, and definitely going on my own. After that, what were the other things to do, to handle? Because going on your own and having a team and all is not easy. Having a team of human beings means you have to deal with different emotional levels. You have to deal with different insecure feelings. We don't know. It could be some strong points. It could be some low days. All how to handle that, I will say my mentor and guru was Shrikanth, because I knew he was the best person on this. How the fact that he has handled me for 23 years. I can really be a dynamite.
He has a look of accomplishment, Shrikanth.
So even now I consult him on a few issues, wherein if I have to put across a thing to a teacher, what we have to do. So now I think it's almost 2.5 years. So now I've also learned to sit in his chair and think, what would he say? And let me not be impulsive, and let me not be the same Raji which I was, say, 20 years ago, and take a sword in my hand and get into the battlefield. So I've stopped doing all that. Because it requires that to run an academy. Doesn't you cannot always be a dynamite. How do you call it? A dynamite which is under the sea, or cannot.
I'm really so glad that both of you really found each other, and kind of lacking or anything that was lacking. So you beautifully complete each other is all I want to say, and thank you so much for this. If there are no further questions from the audiences. Okay, I do not see any further questions. So before I wrap up, I want to really mention to viewers that when I called Shrikantji, I mean, it's been really long interacted with him. I met him when I was a kid, growing up years of mine. And after which there was a long silence. The idea behind the show was spoken to me about. I immediately thought of Shrikantji because I couldn't find any other inspirational couple in my life. And the moment I called him, he was so very warm. Both of them together were telling me that it's high time that you come home, spend some time with us. There was so much of warmth that was still there. And, the gap in the years that I've actually communicated with them just melted away so easily. And that is Shrikantji and Rajalakshmi ji. Thank you so much for all the love.
So,
Thank you
so
so
we are
much for all the
inviting you
warmth.
on air also,
And
Pratibha, okay?
and and I extend the same invitation to you as well. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's been an absolutely beautiful conversation here. And I hope that this, in some small way, did really help somebody who's watching us out there. Thanks a lot for
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you, Pratibha.
Thank you.
Thank you.